Councillor Lehman.
Here.
Councillor Marcus.
Here.
Councillor Larson.
Here.
Councillor Kuechly.
Here.
Mayor Swanson.
Here. Report from department heads. Public Works. Hey, Trent.
Howdy. I just wanted to touch on the power outage we had 3 weeks ago. And kind of what happened, because, well, in years past when we had an outage, it was only like a blink, because we have the 2 feeds that come in and switches in between the 2. Well, our switch, Minnesota Power switch that switches in between our 2 lines from Minnesota Power is no longer working. And so we have a new set of reclosures coming in July. Minnesota Power's doing all that stuff, so
that'll be fixed again.
If there is any more power outage, it's going to be the same deal. It's going to be a couple hours until the problem can be fixed. And that's the situation.
Can be remedied.
Unless it's like a big power outage on one end, they can come in and manually switch between. But because this last outage actually was just down the line from us, they were able to fix it and get it on in a reasonable time without having to switch in between.
We got to tell people what happened.
Well, what ended up happening is a swan came out of the swamp and hit the line and burnt the line down.
Okay.
Or, I shouldn't say burnt the line down, but broke the line. So. And
How's the
if anyone's
swan?
interested, the swan's still out there.
It was about 50 pounds.
Ready for another attack.
So yeah, like I said, if there's another outage, it's going to be a little bit longer than normal until about July is when Minnesota Power thinks the closures will be in.
And all the snow equipment's ready for another storm if it happens, right?
Yes, sadly.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Trent.
Thanks, Trent.
Fire and ambulance,
Not a
Josh?
whole lot other than what else either on the agenda, so. We did EMT class finished up. We do have 1 successful candidate and the other 2 are still testing, so fingers crossed here in a couple weeks we'll have 3 EMTs on the roster, so. Other than that, been pretty mellow on the fire side, so I'll leave it with that.
All
Unless you
right.
got questions.
No, as long as you're not asking for money, that's good.
Not tonight.
All right,
Alrighty, Josh.
thanks, Josh. Engineering attorney,
Only on the agenda, Mayor.
all right. Long-range planning and zoning,
We had a long-range planning and zoning meeting last week. Just talked about property maintenance and prevention codes and
updating ordinances.
updating our ordinances.
Can we change that meeting to the 7th, Monday?
Next meeting will be May 8th, so.
I know. Can we change that meeting to Monday, the 7th?
Proper notice, you can.
Well, I still won't be here on the 8th, and
If it'll work for everybody, or
Yeah.
at least a quorum, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, we can talk
I think,
to
okay.
Ryan.
because this is a special meeting anyhow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll reach out to everybody and
See if we can move it ahead of day. All right.
4 o'clock again.
4 o'clock if anybody's interested in coming.
Yeah.
All right, recreation board.
I had a recreation board last week too, just what's on the agenda, and we're gonna try and get a list of summer events that are gonna go on.
Okay. All right, library board meets tomorrow night. No, Thursday night. Beta end of the month. Did we get a sheriff's report this month?
We're gonna get one at the end of each month.
Okay, so
it'll
we'll
be-
see it at the beginning of next month. Clerk's report.
Just a reminder that the local Board of Appeals and Equalization is April 27th, that Friday from 10 to 11. We will need to have a quorum. Keep that in mind. Also, the USDA, I'm gonna meet with Tyler and our engineer on Thursday, just to go over kind of the computer system and more application procedures and progress, things like that. And also a meeting with the IRRB on a proposed client at the school tomorrow.
Okay,
We'll keep it short and sweet for tonight.
all right.
Just to mention, we did have a beta meeting a week or so ago, and what was going on there is we're just going to put a map of the South Industrial Park and Hometown Focus and advertise the lots that we have there, where ODC is on the south side of the highway. So it's just going to we have it, it's available, and see if there's some interest out there, but that was kind of what we had in our beta meeting.
And I gave the advertisement a okay today, actually. So it'll be running, it'll be not this coming Friday, but the following. It'll start.
Perfect.
Council additions to the agenda? I don't think we have any tonight. Citizens forum? Anybody here? Okay. Consent agenda, minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 3rd.
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Claims?
I'll make a motion to pay the claims total AP of $107,301.80.
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. First order of business is St. Louis County Assessors. Do you want to take the podium?
My name is Rodella Lafreniere of the Shoshana Cards. We're the assessors for the real estate for property taxes for your city.
Thank you.
And the reason we came out to have a chat with you guys is your real estate is going up a lot. Based on the sales, if you look, there's actually a spreadsheet on the second page of our booklet that Shannon handed out. We're required by the state of Minnesota to be between 90 and 105% with our reassessment compared to what things actually sell for. And based on the 8 sales that you had, our value was only 78%. So, and we just came out and redid Buhl a couple of years ago. So what's happening is your real estate values are increasing. So when we know that we've made a rather dramatic change, we like to come out, touch base with you, see if you have any questions, make sure you have a chance to look through the sales books. Generally, you have a few more people than normal that come and have questions.
All right. So by law, you have to be within,
We have to be between 90 and 105% for our, basically our average between our value and what things are actually selling for.
and right now, according to this, it's about 78%, so
Yep.
you're
We were
off
at
the mark.
78, what we did is we increased land values all the way throughout Buhl, and then we increased property values essentially in the downtown area, which is where we're seeing most of the sales.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
So on a home that was valued at 100,000, how much would their taxes roughly go up a year? Any idea?
Oh, how much would the taxes go up?
Yeah.
That's really hard to say because there's been so many areas like this around St. Louis County. For example, Hermantown, I think went up 15% all the way across, which means, I mean, they have all that commercial stuff, right? So if your levies didn't change and we raised everybody's taxes the same, your value just determines what part of the pie you have to pay. And because of the huge increases we're seeing in Duluth and the surrounding areas, I don't think the impact is gonna be 17% by any means, because if the whole pie gets bigger, your slice of it doesn't really change. Percentage-wise, you'll probably see a few percentage points, but you know as well, you guys haven't even set your levy, much less the county or anybody else, so it's really hard to say, but it's definitely not dollars for dollars, and this is happening in enough of the county. Our real estate market is finally starting to recover, that you're not gonna see a 17% increase.
So when you do a blanket increase over the whole community, is that because you've had sales throughout the whole community that you base that the whole area has to go up?
Yes and no. Some of it, in your case, almost all of your sales were right downtown. It's reasonable to assume that some of the outlying nicer plots that you guys have of the newer properties, those lots are probably worth more than the lots downtown. So we raise those lot values when we raise the ones downtown, just because otherwise they would have been worth less, which doesn't make sense. So we base their land value change on all the sales that happen downtown.
Okay,
It's kind of been a problem for years. These houses on this side of town were selling for a certain number, but they were never above 90%. And basically what you're saying, you adjusted that?
Yep, we did. We looked at where all of the sales were.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see just based on this list, a lot of this is your more starter level homes. So that's kind of where we tried to focus what we were doing. We try as hard as we can to actually mirror the market and what's actually selling. If it was all of your real high-end homes, then that's where we put the increase, but that's not really what we're seeing happening here.
okay. All right.
Well, what you guys did is long overdue.
No, we were out here 2 years ago and we had you guys well above 90.
Right.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying for years it never was that way. I'm saying thank you.
Oh, well, you're welcome, but this isn't us doing this. This is honestly, your real estate market is picking up.
Right.
It has nothing to do with us.
Well,
Valuations of the
market.
Yeah, we generally, because of it, I mean, if you look at the selling times on here, oh, they're not on here. It's properties sell in 1 year, we do the valuation for the next year. So your market has actually been recovering for a little while now, so it's good to see up here.
Right, right. It's good news and yet.
That's how you get your tax statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions, anybody?
and we'll see you on the 27th.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Perfect.
thank you very much for coming and for the information. All right. Ben DeVries, you have to speak with us about the ambulance service.
Well, as you know, my name is Ben DeVries. Thanks for giving me a few moments of your time tonight. I've been a paramedic for over 7 years now. I've been in EMS and the fire service for over 10, so this has been a big chunk of my professional career. This summer I'm completing my bachelor's degree in emergency medical services, so this is what I do all day, every day. Most of my career has been here on the Iron Range, and I've noticed the demands on current EMS have been changing, as I think we're all aware. A lot of this is 911 responses, but even more so it's the interfacility transfers across the whole Iron Range altogether. My passion has always been serving the community, and this, with my education and my experience, this has kind of brought me to wanting to make a positive impact on our emergency medical services across the Iron Range. And so, more so, this is to just ensure that the citizens of our community are receiving the best possible health care that we can deliver altogether. While exploring these options, I've had discussions with Josh and been discussing what's going on with Buhl Ambulance currently and what you guys are facing. This has brought me to the realization that I think this might present a perfect opportunity for the impact that I want to make in EMS across the Iron Range, and also benefit the community of Buhl. So what I'm looking at for a goal for Buhl Ambulance would be to upgrade to a full-time ELS service. So this would be a paramedic ambulance service versus what is currently an EMT basic service. So full-time would be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with paramedics on staff. So this would provide the ALS coverage for your citizens, but this would also allow us to provide interfacility transfers to our local hospitals across the more East Iron Range here. So not only would this create a higher level of care for your citizens, but it's also going to create high-paying jobs right here in the city of Buhl, which is a nice thing. I would be looking at hiring 4 full-time paramedics and 4 full-time EMTs, and my intention would be to increase full-time staffing levels if the demand continues to support it, which I do feel confident that it will. I would also be hiring paid casual positions, and I do know allowing the current active members to continue is really important, and I do have a lot of respect for what you guys have accomplished so far and what your members do. So I would be willing to give priority to all current members for these full-time positions and also the casual positions. So I think it's really important to have community members involved in providing these services in your community. So along with providing the higher quality of pre-hospital care, my goals also include reinvesting back into the employees as well as giving back to the community. So with my current projections, the starting wages paid to my employees would be the highest in the region. So that's including in comparison to Virginia Fire, Hibbing Fire, and all of the BLS services, my wages would be above that. We are pushing for giving back to the community as well as reinvesting back into the employees. So what I would be looking at would be giving back 1% of gross annual revenue back to the city of Buhl. Since we're located in Buhl, we want to serve the citizens. We also want to give back as much as we can. So with the projections that I have, this could be anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000 annually, what we would be generating for revenue that would come back to the city. And that all is depending on call volume and everything. So I do know that taking on an ambulance service isn't easy, and therefore I've spent the last few months preparing myself. I've been meeting with ambulance billing services, I've received quotes for insurance, I've discussed options with payroll companies, I've been working with the MSRB, which regulates all ambulance services in the state of Minnesota, and looking at ambulance license requirements, and I'm currently working with the Northeastern Entrepreneur Fund for business counseling and funding. I also have support for medical direction from an emergency medicine trained physician. He has many years of medical direction experience, and we do already have ALS protocols established that we've been working on. And with his involvement, I have the intentions of having rigorous training for the employees, continuing education for the employees to ensure that the staff here in Buhl has opportunities for growth and development, and that we could provide the highest level of care possible. So overall, my goal would be to provide the highest level of full-time ALS pre-hospital care to the citizens of Buhl, and also to provide inter-facility transfer services so patients can receive definitive care in a timely manner. So in the end, this could mean that you guys have paramedics available to you within 3 to 4 minutes versus the now maybe 15 plus minutes. In an emergency situation, that can be a big deal.
Is this going to be your first
Yes.
venture in this field then?
Yes, yeah. So like I said, I've been working in it all of my professional career. I've gotten the education now in it as well. And so I know the business very well. I also am a small business owner among everything else that I do. I also run another small business. So I do have some experience running a business as well. So this would be my first ambulance venture. But I feel that with my experience in education, I think we could do a pretty great thing here in Buhl. So
How, when you say that you'd be the highest paying for your employees, how are you sure that you can do that without actually knowing what your income's gonna be?
So with my 7 years working on Iron Range, I've learned really well what the demand is, what kind of call volume we can run, and we've seen a big demand for inter-facility transfers. So the inter-facility transfers is the highest revenue generating part of EMS. That's where we can make our most money. So currently, I would say across the East Iron Range, it's safe to say that there's 2 to 4 inter-facility transfers either being delayed or declined by the ambulance services now, which would allow that extra business to be available. So with my projections, I would be looking at, it would take 1.1 inter-facility transfers in a 24-hour period to sustain the wages and the business model that I have. So that's a pretty conservative number because we're looking at 2 to 4 transfers being available on a daily basis. And that's just going down to Duluth. So that doesn't include transfers that go to Thief River Falls, Rochester, Minneapolis, and those generate even more. So the unique take that I'm looking at doing, which maybe isn't so common, is that I'm willing to kind of cut profits from the company and reinvest it back into the company. So I'm not in this only just to make money. I want to create those high-paying jobs. I want to make this
a very ideal place to work, so we can get the best paramedics, the best EMTs.
Are you looking at charging then the maximum amount you can for these runs?
As far as ALS and BLS charges go, they all are kind of up to the company as to what you want to set your rates at. However, Medicare is about 80% of the business that we do in EMS, and they have their set reimbursement rates. So you can charge whatever you want, but for your Medicare patients, you're only going to get what they pay. So that's what we base our budget off of, is that Medicare reimbursement. And then we add 20% to account for that 20% of private paying insurance.
So the private pay, would they pay more?
They would, it depends. Depends on the insurance plan that they have. And the tricky part with that is it depends on if you have these high deductible insurance plans, which are more and more common these days, it puts a lot of the responsibility on the patient. So it depends on if they're paying their bills or not. However, the rates that I've chosen are within $100 or $200 of what Hibbing and Virginia Fire are charging. So it would be about the same across the iron range as to what you would pay for an ambulance if you were a private payer. So there really wouldn't be a huge change as far as what the patient would see for a bill. You do see a little bit more of a bill for an ALS service versus a BLS service, and so upgrading to an ALS service, you might see a small increase as to what Buhl Ambulance is currently charging.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm kind of looking at is, if you guys feel that this is something that your city could benefit from, I would like the opportunity to sit down and discuss this in finer detail and explore the options.
Are you asking anything from us to get your company going?
No, I would not be asking for any financial assistance. I'm looking at doing that all independently. Like I said, I'm working with the Entrepreneur Fund. I have personal finances, and I do have a couple of investors that are interested as well. So that I believe it would be another benefit to you guys. I'm not asking for any monetary assistance, but I would be very interested in looking at an asset purchase for what the Buhl Ambulance Service currently has. Also exploring options for a potential lease of current facilities for housing employees, but I've also obtained estimates for building a new facility. And so we're kind of in the works of looking at what it would take to build a new facility, and obviously that would be built here in Buhl if this would happen to go ahead, so.
I think we have lots for you.
With the 1% of your gross revenue, what, say the first year or two, you just aren't able to come up with that? How?
So that's just the reason why I chose the 1% is because if business is slow, then it doesn't bankrupt me trying to kick back to the community. But if we have a good year and business is high, then you guys are gonna see a much better return. The reason I kind of decided to do that is because I know a primary service area, which Buhl Ambulance in your city currently has a lot of value to it. It's essentially priceless because it gives you the ability to run an ambulance service, and you need that. So it's really hard to put a price on that. So this is my kind of way of saying it's a constant kickback. It's endless, and it just depends on how well business is. And it could, not only would you have paramedics in your town, but you'd also have a monetary value coming back to help out with whatever, so.
Well, that's the thing, the ambulance it provided money for the fire department.
Yeah.
So it took the pressure off, the city.
Right.
So the 1% or 2% would be, that's how I think we should utilize it the same way.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was hoping to, and I was gonna kind of leave that up to further discussion, but I would like to see a good portion of that go back to the fire department, because I think that's where the biggest benefit is gonna be, especially if that's where you guys are pulling.
Well, we'd be losing that incentive, so
right.
Might as well put it back where.
Yeah, and I come from the fire service, and I know how far that $10,000 or $20,000 can go, very long ways,
Right.
So.
Well, I think it's interesting. We've had other discussions, so
Yeah, I know
it's
you guys
one
have
more
some-
that we have to mull around now,
Right.
but but it's definitely
Yeah.
worth looking at, and I think that, for speaking for myself anyway, I would be very interested in further discussions and gathering more information,
Yeah.
because this is such a huge decision for
Yeah,
us
I
to
know
make.
this is a very big deal, and I don't take it lightly, that's for sure.
Right,
And I know it may seem that this is kind of my first venture, but I do have a lot of passion, and I strive for the best for our citizens and for your guys' community and for the patients all across the Iron Range, so.
where are you from?
I'm from Hibbing.
Okay.
I grew up in southern Minnesota,
So-
but I've been up in Hibbing now for 6.5, 7 years, so.
So you're right next door.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, I don't think that we're in a position to make a decision tonight, but
Oh, no,
I
absolutely
definitely would like to schedule meetings to sit down
Yeah.
and have discussions.
Yeah, and that's what I'm asking for, is that we could just sit down and explore this more, so.
Very good.
I agree.
All right, we'll leave that up to scheduling the clerk then. Do we want a motion to proceed, or?
Well, if you want to direct the clerk to set up a meeting, you can do that by motion. Who would be on the, meeting with the clerk and somebody else, or how do you want to handle it?
Do we want to have a committee that sits on this, or do we want to sit down as a council?
Well, I think the fire chief and the, yeah, go ahead.
Could I recommend that? I do believe that I think it would be in the best interest of all parties if we could have the whole council.
I agree with you, Josh. I think this is too big a decision
Yes,
to have a
it's
small
very
committee.
big decision.
So, we have a motion to set up a special meeting to,
When would we, I'll make a motion to set up a meeting with Mr. Device. Greaves, I don't know how you spell it.
Breeze.
Support.
do we want to set a certain time or date, or we want to just see what's going to work out for everybody?
Yeah,
Afternoon, 4 o'clock, after,
Yeah,
whatever you, what do
and I
you,
guess with my schedule, I'm still at the fire department, so I work 24-hour shifts, so my schedule can be a little crazy to work around, but
Well,
if
let's,
we were to have a couple options, then I could,
okay, why don't we work that out then?
yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We look forward to further discussions.
very good, thank you guys.
Thank you, thank you for
you.
coming.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just debating if I should go home now.
Okay. League of Minnesota Cities Resolution 1819. The league has requested the council throughout the state to pass a resolution supporting local decision-making. Attached is a resolution and a list of cities that have already passed this.
I so move we accept the resolution 1819.
Support.
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Roll call?
Counselor Lehman?
yes.
Counselor Marcus?
Yes.
Counselor Larson?
Yes.
Counselor Kuechly?
Yes.
Mayor Swanson?
Yes. The visitor guide. Attached is a request to purchase advertisement of Manny's Shopper Visitor Guide. The cost is $290. It was $275 last year. It's gone up a little bit. So you see the ad. Would we like to put an ad in the visitor guide?
I don't think it's beneficial, is it?
I mean, I think, in just my opinion, that our money might be wiser spent, maybe advertising our stuff or pit lots and things like that.
Well, why don't we do that? Just give a small shot of that addition that we're trying to establish.
And I'm working on that with Tyler right now. We just didn't have anything finalized because I'm waiting on something from Jamnik, a better map quality to present to the council.
Because we're gonna do the one part and
Yeah.
this donate our money on the other part.
Will we have time to get a map and put that
Yeah.
in this guide?
Yep.
Would you, I think that would be a good idea. What do you guys think? To have an ad put in with the Stubler Pit lots, advertising the sale price and
Well, how big was this? 5 by 5 or
I think it was 5 by 6.
5 by 6? Yeah, I think you put a map in there of our lots.
and just for sale,
Yeah.
call
Yep.
City Hall.
Price of the lots.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
Do I have a motion to do that?
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
Summer street hires. We would like to advertise our summer street hires. Attached is the advertisement. Ryan recommends that we put the ad out on April 16th through April 11th. They'll accept applications at a rate of $9.50 an hour.
Should be starting tomorrow. That was my mistake.
Okay, we'll get it out tomorrow and
I'll make a motion that we, have Ryan put this out for workforce.
Support.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Summer beach hires, the rec department would like to post for, do you also want this to go out tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then this will run through May 11th for the beach hires at a rate of $9.50 for attendance and $10.50 for the supervisor. Now, the supervisor has to be over 18, is that right? Or no, 16 plus in age, it says. I thought I saw.
I don't think in the past we've really specified,
No, in age.
and the supervisor is kind of dependent on
That's what I was just gonna ask the council.
But it does say on the ad here,
Yeah,
18
qualification, 18
plus
plus years of age.
for the supervisor, but do we want to go with, do you want that? or-
Well, I was gonna say the rec board, was kinda coming to the conclusion that I don't know if we really need a supervisor with, it's not the duties. I mean,
Well-
Ryan handles the day-to-day operations anyway, and the only thing they really do is make a schedule, and he can easily do that.
In the past, they do the schedule and fill in as needed, but do we want to put that on Ryan? Are you comfortable with
That's
that, Ryan?
fine. I would recommend attendance. I just think it takes drama out of the equation sometimes. and-
Sure. So what the rec board wants to do is just hire attendance
Yeah,
for the $9.50?
Okay.
I just wanted to let the council, or present that we didn't know if we're gonna advertise for a supervisor, but
But you prefer not to?
Not
Is that the
necessarily,
recommendation
yeah,
of the
we-
rec board?
we might
Okay.
not get anybody for.
Well, you won't if we don't advertise for it, but if all you want, we
Ryan,
just advertise for
I'm
attendance?
fine with that.
okay, let's just, we're just advertise for, attendance and
Okay,
not a supervisor.
can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we set this out, just to hire attendance and not a supervisor
At $9.50?
at $9.50.
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Rams is requesting that cities pass a resolution supporting high-speed quality broadband in rural communities.
Not the last meeting, but the meeting before, Rams, did this, policy, they put this into a resolution, and, there wasn't much opposition on it, but the one guy that did opposition is a locator,
Mm-hmm.
and he says this isn't gonna work because if there's not anything in the conduit, you're not gonna be able to find it, not know where it's at. And it's, with all the stuff in the ground now, it's just gonna get hit when you put in new. But this was They wanted to, for this policy, they want the whole town to do the whole thing and put this in so it's in.
Well, we've got fiber optics running through Buhl already.
Yeah, but not on every street.
Oh.
That's,
Oh, that's
Is that what
they're,
this is proposing to do?
that's what they're shooting for?
Well, why? We have fiber optics on our telephone poles.
well, that's a better place for it anyway, but that's just what this is about. A little discussion on it, so whatever the rest of the council feels.
So they want each city to put in all this
Well,
conduit?
when you're redoing a street, they want you to put in the conduit, so everything is there. If you don't have a line on it, you're not gonna know where it's at. So if you're putting in, gotta come back and put in new, for some reason, you're not gonna know where it's at. So you're gonna hit it and tear it up anyway.
Couldn't they-
Was this to go through town or to go down to so it'll go into every house?
I think
Well, with this broadband, it's,
kind of what I got out of it is you put one big conduit that you can run multiple, correct, Stuart?
yeah.
That's kind of the way I read
But
it.
this is, if they redo a street, they put the conduit in when you do the street, so that it's there. You might not use it for 10 years, maybe, but at least it's there. So you're only digging once.
Can they run gas lines through this conduit?
They will if they bore through it.
Yeah, I would personally like to know more about this and
Yeah.
what's involved and, I mean, we've
Right.
done, most of this north side of town has been done. So, I mean, do we go back and redo, I mean, how do we
Well,
do that? I
They're
mean,
talking if you put in a new street. So
yeah,
if we redo a street, they want the conduit in the ground too, so they don't have to come back and redo the conduit. You might not put fiber in there at that time, but at least it's there. But if you don't put anything, like a wire in there,
Yeah.
you're not gonna find it. You're not gonna be able to locate it.
yeah, they
So
trace
if you
it.
come in and bore a gas line in, you could potentially just go right through the. Yeah. That's where this guy from opposed this was the only one. I okayed it in the meeting, but after thinking about it, it's not much sense. I mean, we can table it and come back to it if you want, but
Well, it makes sense in the point that if certain things are run, you don't have to dig up your new streets or, but if you can't locate it, it doesn't make any sense.
if you're not putting nothing in there, you're not gonna be able to locate it.
And
Well,
if we
that's-
pass a policy, are we required then to do it?
Yeah, it's just to run the tracing where your conduit, but
How big
it's
a
not
conduit
asking
is it?
into us to invest any money, but when we do
No.
a project, it's asking us to spend some more money.
Right,
How big of a conduit is this?
Well, whatever fiber is, I don't know, probably anything from 2 inch to,
Yeah.
4 maybe? I don't.
I would suggest we just table this
Yep.
until we kind of
Get more
find out a
information.
little bit more.
more information.
Yep.
are you making a motion to table?
I make a motion to table this.
I will support that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Brian, maybe you could call Steve and get a little more information on that. All right, water trickling update. Trent? How are we doing? Have we had,
Temperatures are still low, some are going up a little bit, but
best to keep trickling for a while yet?
I would suggest trickling till the end of the month and then kind of go at a homeowner's decision if they want to continue on or not.
Or at our next meeting, look at the temps again?
We could, but then it might screw up billing.
It would screw up billing.
Okay, so you're suggesting we go to the end of the month?
Well, we have a first meeting anyhow.
Right, but they're saying to end at the end of April for billing, for the sake of
Oh,
billing,
yeah.
so it doesn't mess
Right.
that up.
Well,
And it's gonna be in the 50s this weekend, so hopefully.
well, Frost doesn't know what the temperature is up here. Well, it does because
But everybody will think it's okay.
Well, it doesn't work that way. That's what we're trying to tell people.
Right,
When it warms up,
that's when
just keep the
frost
water,
moves.
keep the water running.
You could continue on even in next month, but then there's a loss of revenue when we've been trickling for a while. So.
Yeah, a couple of weeks will know more anyhow.
But if we went to the end of the month,
We should be
we'd be safe.
I would
I'd
think
like to
so
say we
too.
have a meeting on the 1st, so
I would think maybe authorize ending trickling as of May 31st, and we'll get updated water temps. If we need to reauthorize it, we can at that May 1st meeting.
On April 31st, you mean?
April, yeah.
Okay. Should we,
April, May.
I think that makes sense.
It does.
I'll make a motion that we do it at the end of the month.
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. All right. Our next order of business would be the Public Works hire. If we would like to go into closed session, I'll need a motion to close the open meeting.
I'll make a motion that we close the open meeting.
Support.
All in favor?
all right.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion to open the open meeting again.
I'll make a motion to open the open meeting.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We've determined to hire one particular candidate, that would be Mr. Lemire. Upon his choosing to accept the position, when would we like to set the hiring date? We've got 6 weeks before Tony retires. I would suggest 2 weeks is enough time to train him in.
I would think so too.
That would be May 17th. Excuse me.
That would be offer him the position and on that start date and with subject to background check and pass the physical, is that correct?
Yes. Does that need to be part of the motion?
Should be.
All right.
When's that pay period in May end? You might as well start on the first part of that second pay period. Is it,
Pay period would end, I'd have to look at my calendar. Trying to probably tell you.
just about what you said, some place in there.
Right.
That'd be perfect.
That's good thinking, John.
May 14th?
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So start him that Monday, May 14th.
yeah, starting on that pay period.
Oh, wait. Sorry. That's wrong. So it'd be the 7th or the 21st.
No,
7th or the 21st.
Well, if it's the 7th, that still gives him ample time for a 2-week
That's
notice.
That's an
3.5
extra
months.
3.5 weeks.
Or 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a week and a half. So it's the 7th or the 21st.
Well, 21st still gives you 2 weeks.
It's, either way, it's not.
Yeah.
It's,
We could still look the 17th if.
Yeah. And give it full 2 weeks. He's gonna get a partial check, that's not a big deal. Is it?
Well, 7.
no, it's not a big deal. I know, and this is up to Trent, but I know the other Public Works employees on vacation towards the end of May, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just for information.
Who's on vacation?
The only one.
I think what is
Tony, right on the way out.
Taking any vacation?
You're off now.
He just resigned.
Yep. Back to Florida. So what date would we want to go? The 7th, the 21st, or the 17th?
With being one man down the end of the month, Trent, would we want to start him a little earlier just because?
Well, this,
It's, once the snow goes away, we're gonna become really busy. So
And
knowing
This
what this
coming
weather's
week,
gonna
yeah,
be,
clean up.
an extra guy's gonna be really helpful once the snow goes away.
Is the 7th?
maybe the 7th is sounding good?
7th should be good.
I might have been on the wrong month even. I mean,
May? Are you looking at
I
May?
was in 1970.
I think it's been a long day for everybody.
Do you want to go in and check your calendar?
Yeah, you better do that.
Let's get an
Yeah, let's-
accurate date here for starting.
Yeah.
Better check to see what city you're working in, over in Mountain Iron.
Well, you know, we could probably look in here and figure out the pay period.
Oh, yeah, it would be in there too.
Yeah. Oh, well, now that he's gone, let's figure it out before he gets back.
Jeez.
Oh, the next couple pages, yeah.
And that's not
No,
going to tell
before
us, is
that,
it?
right here. No, what the heck, where's the payroll?
That's all there was for payroll, right here. It's just,
Oh, okay, yeah, right there.
My recommendations would be to have him either start on Monday, May 7th or Monday, May 14th.
7th or 14th?
7th or 14th.
That's kind of what we.
Well, the
shoot for,
14th
17th.
would still be 2.5 weeks.
I'll make the motion, we hire Owen Lemire for the city, maintenance, and upon his
Background check.
background
Physical.
check and physical approval.
With a
The
start
start
date.
date of the 14th of May.
Okay.
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. This meeting's adjourned.